Hey guys, Pogo here, and welcome to episode 2 of Bukkit Coding Remastered. In this video, we're going to actually start our coding. If you didn't watch the video before this, make sure that you do, because that's where we set up our Bukkit server and Eclipse, where we're going to be writing all of our code. Also, if you don't know Java yet, definitely check out my Java 101 series first, because I'm going to be assuming that you know Java and that you're pretty comfortable with some of the advanced concepts. You got to know Java before you can jump into Bukkit, or else you're going to be copying code and everything's going to be very confusing. So your computer should be set up from the last episode, and we're going to go ahead and launch Eclipse. We got Eclipse installed and set up in our last video, in the first video, so it should be all ready to go if we just go ahead and open it. Eclipse, again, is the program that we're going to be using to write all of our code, and it'll provide a lot of features to make everything a whole lot easier. So we're just going to give Eclipse a little bit of time to start up, and it should be pretty quick, especially since I don't have any plugins installed on this user account. So that should take just a second, and there we go. Okay, so we're now inside of the Eclipse window. If you see anything, any windows down here at the bottom or on the right, you can close out of them. The only thing that we need is the Package Explorer. And what we're going to do is we're going to right-click within the Package Explorer, and we're going to create a new Java project. You can also go up here to File, New Java Project. Either one is fine. But we're going to be creating a new project. And you're going to create a new project for every plugin that you make. So we're going to name the project based on whatever the plugin is that we want to have. So we'll go ahead and name the project. This is just going to be a sample command, a hello world. You're going to run a command and it's going to say hello world. So we'll just call this hello world. And you actually can have a space if you want, but I don't need a space. So we'll hit next. And you're gonna come to this screen, and this is where you set up all of the build settings. You need to go over to Libraries, and then you need to click Add External Jars. Then you need to go to your desktop and your Bukkit folder, wherever you decided to put your Bukkit folder, and you want to click on craftbukkit.jar and click Open. And what that'll do is it'll add craftbukkit.jar to your build path. And what that means is that when you write your code will be allowed to reference craftbukkit.jar. So this jar file has a ton of classes in it that are all set up to interface with Minecraft. And basically, you're just telling your project that you want to have access to all of these files. So once this is in your build path, and you have to do this for every single project, then you can actually access and import all of the CraftBukkit classes. So once you're in Libraries, you add the external jar and it shows up there. You can click Finish. And you'll then see that we have our Hello World project. And if we expand it, you'll see that we have the SRC folder, the JRE system library, and reference libraries. So the system library just contains all of the Java stuff, and reference library just contains all of the CraftBukkit stuff and any other dependencies that you might have, but we don't have any right now. The SRC folder is where we need to actually focus all of our efforts. The SRC folder, SRC stands for source, or it means source. That's where all of our code is going to go. But before we actually write any code, we need to write a specific kind of file. So you're going to right click and you're going to create a new file, and you're going to call it plugin.yml. And then you're going to make sure it's in the SRC folder right there, and you're going to say finish. With every Bukkit plugin that you make, you have a file called plugin.yml. YML is a reference to YAML, which stands for YAML ain't markup language. It is a markup language, obviously. It's essentially just a way of storing data. And when we get to configuration files, we're going to look more into this, but all you need to understand is that this file will store some data, and every plugin needs one because this file is going to contain all of the information about the plugin. So there's a couple of things that we need. And with everything you do, you write the name of the value, a colon, space, and then the value. So the first thing is the name. Whatever you want to call your plugin. We'll call it Hello World. You also need the author. Whatever you want, you can put your real name, or you can put your internet name or your Minecraft username, whatever you want. So your name, so the name of the project, the author. You need a quick description. Try to make it only a few words. We'll just say a Hello World plugin, or a Hello World command. But that's just a really quick description of what your plugin actually does. trying to remember what I'm missing. There's main. That's going to be your main class, and we're going to come back to that. So I'm just going to write, hang on. Oops, not in all caps. Sorry. So we're going to come back to main in a second. And I think, oh yeah, version, that's right. So version is the version of your plugin. I'm just going to call it 1.0. As you update your plugin, you would just change the version there. So that's the basic data that you need to have. The name of the plugin, the author of the plugin, the main class, which we'll get to at the end, the version of the plugin, and a quick description. If you want to add commands, you have to register your commands within the plugin.yml. So the way you do that is you write commands with a colon, and then you go to the next line and you put 2 spaces in. So commands is a list of all the different commands that you have. So this is like a list, and then inside of there we're going to write our commands. The first command, this is just going to be the hello world command, or we'll call it, I guess, test. And then so you put the name, and then there's a couple of things that you want to put. You want to write usage, and you just write slash, and then you write command in diamond brackets. And that's just saying that in order to use the test command, you write slash, and then whatever the command is, like slash test. If you were to have arguments, then you would put them there, but we're not going to deal with arguments quite yet. And then the other thing that you need is the description, a quick description of the command. So just like says hello world. And the other thing you can have is you can have aliases. And I think you put it inside of the square brackets, but I believe you do. And you can define other commands. Like we can say that test says hello world, but we can also say that the command hello triggers it, or the command hello world, or HW. So if I type test or hello world or HW, then it will, any of these will actually execute test, or it'll execute the same command. So that's what we need to do to set up inside of the plugin.yml. We have our plugin configured there. So now we need to go back to SRC and create a package. A package is just a collection of Java files, and for a lot of your plugins for a while, you're only going to have one file, and you might say, I don't really need to have a package, but it's just good organization. So the best way to come up with a package is write me dot, and then whatever your name is. You can write your name or your internet name or your Minecraft username, and then so me.pogo.helloworld. And what you would do is if you own a domain name, you would write the domain name there, but you would write it as the domain, you would write it as the top level domain like com or net first, and then so you would write something like I own com.pogostick29dev. So if you go to pogostick29dev.com, that's my website. But this is not really important. I'm just going to write me.pogo, and I'm going to hit finish. In here, we're going to go ahead and create our file, and you can call this whatever you want. I guess I'll call it hello world. Usually you want to call the first file that you create either main, or you could call it the name of your plugin. Those are both just fine. So this is the Java class that's going to contain the code for our plugin. And we'll only need one class for a little while, but eventually we're going to look at having a bunch of different classes to do a bunch of different things. So here's hello world, and the first thing we need to do is we need to write extends Java plugin. And you're going to get a red line, so you're going to do Command-Shift-O or Control-Shift-O if you're on Windows. And if you get this where it says import org.bukkit.plugin.java.java plugin, good. That means that you set up craftbukkit in your build path that we did a couple minutes ago, and you're all good to go. If you don't get that, click on the project, right-click, choose Properties, then go to Java build path, libraries, and make sure that craftbukkit shows up there. It needs to be there or else this is not going to work. Then you just hit OK once you're finished. Okay, so this is our hello world, and it extends Java plugin. So the first thing I guess that is important to introduce are there are 2 methods that exist inside of Java plugin that we can override, and they are so I'm going to use the override annotation. They are public void on enable and public void on disable. Now you won't always need on enable, and you usually won't need on disable, but in these two classes or methods, I don't know what I'm saying, you can write some information, like you can say enabling hello world. And this will be called on enable will be called when your plugin is being enabled. On disable will be called when your plugin is being disabled. So you can write disabling. And we don't need to do this, and generally it just clutters the console, but I'm just trying to show you how you can do this. So, you know, on enable and on disable, this is where you can do different things. So we're going to use this for different purposes later on, but for now, just know that that's how you can tell when the plugin's being enabled and being disabled. Now the important part. We want to have our commands work. So we're going to write, this is going to be an override, public boolean on command, and it's going to take 4 arguments: command sender, command cmd, string, command label, and then string array args. This is really long, and you might not memorize it immediately, but believe me, after you write enough plugins, you will. And this is the method that is called automatically whenever a command that belongs to this plugin is executed. So if we look inside of our plugin.yml, we see that we registered the test command. So if test is run, then this on command will be run. You want to do Command-Shift-O or Control-Shift-O, and make sure that you import org.bukkit.command.command. We don't want the material. Good. You'll get an error here simply because we're not returning a boolean, and you just want to write return true. If you return false, it's going to tell the user that an error occurred, and we don't really want to do this because we want to give our own custom error messages. So I usually like to just return true, and I like to print out my own error messages if I need to, but in this case we actually don't need to. So what you want to do here is, well, we only have one command, but if you had multiple commands, you would want to check to see which command is being run. So you would do, actually, I guess we don't really need to worry about that right now. So just for all intents and purposes, we know that on command is being called whenever one of our commands happens, and we have the test command registered right there. So all we have to do is we need to write sender.sendMessage hello world. Just a quick look at these 4 parameters. Command sender references whoever sent the command. This could either be a player or the console or even a command block. So when I write sender.sendMessage, I'm sending the message hello world to them. If it's a player, it'll show up to the player. If it's the console, it'll show up in the console. And if it's a command block, I believe that nothing will happen. Then there's the command, and this is just a class, and if we look inside of it for a second, you'll see that there are a bunch of different pieces of information about the command here. Basically all of the stuff that's in plugin.yml, like remember, get usage and get name and get description, that's all inside of plugin.yml. So we can just get information about the command if we wanted to. Command label is the same as cmd.getName, I believe. Or actually, no, I believe that command label would be one of these aliases if it is an alias, and cmd.getName would just be the command. But I never use command label. Last is string array args. Those are all of the arguments that are given after the command. So if I write /hello world and then I put some value like 1 or high, then it would be stored in args so that I could use that value. We don't need to do that because this is a very simple command. All this is going to do is when the command is run, it's going to send the sender a message that says hello world, and then it's going to return true just to say that everything worked fine. This plugin is now complete, and it should work when we run it, but we need to go finish plugin.yml. For the main class, you want to write the name of the package, whatever you called it. I called it me.pogo.helloworld, just look right there. Then you write a dot, and then you write the name of your main class. That's the one that extends Java plugin. We see that it's called Hello World, so I write me.pogo.helloworld in lowercase, just like the package name, .hello world, and I have to match the case just like I did over here. So make sure that that all matches. Alright, I think we're now good, and we're going to test out the plugin. So right-click on the project and choose Export. Then you're going to want to go to Java, and you're going to want to choose jar file. Click Next. Okay. All we need to do here is go to select the export destination. You're going to click Browse, and you want to bring this up so you can see where you want to put it. And you want to go to your Bukkit server folder and then click on plugins. This is the directory where we want it to be, and then up here you're going to type the name. So, you're going to see it's going to be stored in the plugins folder inside of the Bukkit server folder, and it's going to be called helloworld.jar. This is all we need to do, and we can hit finish. And what that's going to do is it's going to put everything that we have here, which is actually just hello world and plugin.yml, into a jar file, which is just a Java file. And it's going to stick them all together, and it's going to stick them inside of the plugins folder. So when we start up the Bukkit server, it will be recognized in the plugins folder, and then the plugin.yml will be read, and it's going to receive all of the information, including the main class, and then it's going to find the main class and instantiate it. So now we have an instance of our main class, and then it can call on enable and on disable and on command as it needs to. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize Eclipse. We should be finished with it, but if something doesn't work for whatever reason, then we'll come back to it. I want to open up the Bukkit folder, and first of all, you'll see that we now have helloworld.jar inside of the plugins, and it's very small. It's only 2 kilobytes, and only has a couple of files inside of it. And now we'll go ahead and double-click on Start Server, and that is going to cause the server to start up. In the meantime, I'm going to open up Minecraft, just so I can demonstrate that this command works within Minecraft, and it also works within the console. So the console is working. Just to take a look really quick, is right there. You can see, well, the message is automatically sent where it says enabling hello world, but you can see right here where it says enabling hello world. That's the message that we wrote, and it was automatically called inside of the on enable was automatically called, and then that's what caused it to print out. So if you want to put in a custom startup message, then that's how you would do it. Alright, so first let's actually just test this out. If we do /help, and we have to find it, but it should be, there it is. So you'll see that if we look inside of help, amidst all of these Minecraft commands, there's our command, /test, and the description says hello world. And that's exactly what we had. That's what we configured inside of the plugin.yml. So let's test it out. When you want to run a command in the console, you don't write the slash. You just write the command. So test, and you'll see that it says hello world. If we look at some of the aliases, I forget if there's actually a command. No, there isn't. So we can just quickly check inside of our plugin.yml. If I were to type any of the aliases like hello or hello world or HW, you'll see that they all result in the exact same thing, that it prints hello world, because all of these commands are registered to this plugin, and whenever any of them are run, then that message is sent. So you'll see that it works from the console, and it just sends the message straight to the console, but let's try it inside of the game. If I run /test, you'll see that it says hello world, and also if I do /help, I guess it would be under it would be /help. I have to go under Bukkit, or no, I'm sorry, I have to go under hello world. And then see, this tells me all of the commands from the hello world plugin, which is test. So again, I run test and it says hello world. If I run the hello world command, or not help, hello, or HW, they all result in the same thing. It sends whoever sent the command a message saying hello world. One last little bonus, I guess, before we stop this, I'm going to actually show you how to do colors. If you want to put hello world in a color, the way that you do that is inside of here you write check color dot, and then you'll notice all of these different color options. My favorite is gold, but you can choose whichever one you want. And then you're going to add plus. Make sure that you import org.bukkit.checkcolor. It should happen automatically. But I wrote checkcolor.gold plus hello world, and that's going to actually make hello world come out in gold. So we need to first export the plugin, so export jar file. This should already be set up here, and then click finish, and yes, we want to overwrite it. So you need to re-export every time you make a change. And then over here, to make it apply, you need to either reload or stop the server. And really quick, you'll see that it says disabling hello world and enabling hello world, so again, when the plugin's disabled or enabled, those methods on enable and on disable are called. So now that it's been reloaded, the difference has been applied, and you'll see that hello world is now in gold. So you write chat color dot and then the name of a color in all caps, and then a plus, so you add it to that string. You write it before the string, and then it'll make that string show up in a specific color. I guess just to show you really quickly, you can actually have the different parts show up in different colors. So we can have the word hello show up in gold, and then we can have world show up in aqua. So all you do is in between strings, you use pluses. So you're taking chatcolor.gold, and then you're adding the word hello, and then you're adding the aqua color, and then you're adding world. If we just quickly export this again, and then we reload our server, we'll see first of all that it does work in the console. The console has color support, so it says hello in gold and world in aqua. And if I run it here, you'll see that the exact same thing happens. It says hello in gold and world in aqua. So that is how well, first of all, we made a command for the first time. Then we sent a message. So we learned how to send messages to whoever sends commands, which is obviously very important for any command. And then we also learned how to use colors to make commands more interesting and more useful, because you can highlight important details or separate different parts of your output, which is very important. So, as always, subscribe if you want to see more, comment with what you think of this series, and if you like this video, click the like button. I'll see you guys soon with some more Bukkit. Bye for now.